It goes on, conversations goes on in that locker room, and players know what their stats are.
Are you sitting here and saying Nikola Jokic is having his numbers padded? Is that what you're saying?
You heard what the hell I said.
Even when you try to compare Jokic and Embiid putting the ball on the ground, and he looking like a guard, running the floor.
So is Jokic.
No, man, Jokic don't do that. Did you see Embiid run the floor the other night with Harden? I ain't seen Jokic run the floor like that.
Oh, no.
When it comes down to guys winning MVP since 1990, it's only 3 guys that won the MVP that wasn't top 10 in scoring. Do you know who those 3 guys were?
Who are they?
Steve Nash, Jokic, and Dirk Nowitzki. Now, what do those guys have in common? I'll let it sit there and marinate. You think about it.
Jokic isn't known for having some kind of dominant post game now. That's not his game.
Hold on a second.
It's not his game. He's not a dominant. Is he a dominant post player?
It was more special what we did in Minnesota because we had like a month, and then we had training camp, and it was like you better figure it all out right now, and we really figured it out quick. Yeah. Think about it. They had what? Jokic been in the league
4 years.
If you think about it, 4 years, we got it done in 4 months.
Right.
You see this? You see this? This is that championship shirt. This is that we feel like winners shirt. We posing. We waited multiple weeks for this shirt just for this video. Yo guys, what's going on? My name is Alex, and this is a very, very, very overdue video about the Denver Nuggets, and specifically I wanted to talk about Jokic, but hey, they won the championship. Again, I apologize for not having this out sooner. It'll probably been a month at this point. But the Nuggets did beat the Miami Heat in 5 games. Beat them pretty convincingly. The Heat didn't really seem to have any sort of shot outside of that game 2 where they kind of turned up the intensity. But things just never really turned around. Nikola Jokic, Finals MVP, Jamal Murray played absolutely phenomenal in every single game. Michael Porter Jr., even though he did not really perform very well on the offensive end, he did show out on the defensive end, which I don't think a lot of us really saw coming. Aaron Gordon, primary defender on Jimmy Butler, he did a great job as well. And all the supporting pieces like KCP, Christian Brown, Bruce Brown, all those guys, they did their part. Jeff Green as well. We got some DeAndre Jordan minutes and Reggie Jackson minutes. They didn't really do much, but hey, shout out to those guys. And Michael Malone, shout out to Michael Malone, one of the longest tenure head coaches in the NBA currently. He got what he wanted. He got the championship. He stayed there forever. So shout out to him. But as you guys saw with all the beginning clips, I want to talk about Jokic because, this is going to be kind of a rant as well. I really just want to talk my shit. Again, I got the championship shirt on. I waited multiple weeks for this just so I can make this video while I wear it. I had to endure the entire season hearing these BS takes about why Jokic is not an all-time great, which ultimately led to him not winning that 3rd MVP. You saw multiple Kendrick Perkins clips in that beginning intro, and it's for a reason. He went on that racist rant about how the only reason why he's even being considered for a 3rd MVP is because he's white. Called him a stat patter, and then we saw clips where we're seeing clips now from him, and even just ESPN, FS1 in general, just mainstream media, they're all changing their tune about Jokic. Cause, now they're bringing up questions like, where does he rank amongst the all-time great bigs? This should have been a discussion that we had even before he won a championship. His skill level was obviously there, and we had the context to understand why he hadn't won a championship up to this point. But instead of, actually realizing his greatness, we wanted to make sure that we were kind of hiding it in a way, and the way we were gonna hide it is by just spewing lies, and maybe not just lies, but just really bad arguments, especially ones about the MVP race. The MVP race is really just something that I think it just got too toxic to a point where even Jokic, was very adamant in saying like, yeah, like this, I'm trying my best not to hear it, but it's kind of hard when that's all people are talking about and I'm getting asked about it, right? So I first wanted to just discuss like why were we not willing to give Jokic a third MVP? And I feel like I've been on record in saying that I think a big portion of Embiid winning was more of a anti-Jokic vote than it actually was him. People will say that Embiid deserved it. He definitely had the MVP numbers. But with that being said, I still thought Jokic was just more valuable to his team. But the reason why the media wasn't willing to give it to Jokic is because they didn't think he was great enough to win 3 MVPs. Especially, this is the hypocrisy about it all. They would point to the last 2 years where he won the MVP and say, hey, there really isn't that much playoff success. He lost in the second round against the Phoenix Suns. He didn't have Jamal Murray. Then he lost in the first round to the Golden State Warriors. Didn't have Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. He has to run lineups with Facu Campazzo and Austin Rivers. But hey, he's supposed to, make the conference finals and beat these teams that eventually go on to either win the championship or make it to the finals at least. That just never made sense, the whole he needs to win in the playoffs argument, for 2 reasons. One, it's a regular season award, so why do we even care about what he did in the playoffs, especially the year prior? That year has nothing to do with the current year. But second of all, again, a lot of these people are vouching for Embiid. However, as we can tell, and we saw what happened in this year's playoffs, and it's been happening constantly throughout Embiid's career, this guy cannot get out of the second round. And, part of it is because Embiid does get injured, and just to be honest, he plays better teams. I totally understand losing to the better team. It happens all the time. But it just never made sense to say Jokic doesn't deserve MVP, one, because he wasn't winning in the playoffs, but we're not using that same argument for Embiid. So you should really do it for Giannis because he's the guy with the chip. Like, we should have given it to him. Again, the logic just doesn't make sense. I'm not trying to say that, Embiid didn't technically deserve the MVP. I think he definitely had a case. I just think people were making the wrong case and giving the wrong argument because it was very flawed. And it's also very annoying too because now Jokic has won the NBA championship. Now he's going to come into this next season and people are not going to care that he could possibly win a third MVP. It would not surprise me if this coming season Jokic is back in the top 3 running for the MVP award, and I think he would have a legitimate shot at winning it just because he won the championship last year, which yet again, it shouldn't matter what he did this year that just finished because it's a regular season award. The winning bias is just really crazy, especially with NBA media, and I don't want to say that I don't fall victim to winning bias. I think we all do, and I think it happens, whether we think it happens or not, but it's just so insane that we had to wait. We had to wait for Jokic to win a championship just so that we can feel comfortable in giving him MVP awards and putting him in conversations with other all-time greats. His individual skills were good enough to put him in all-time great conversations, like one of the best big men ever to play, like top 10. I don't think he's top 5 yet, but even before the championship, I still thought he was the top 10 center. Him winning this championship doesn't really change my mind. It might solidify my opinion, but I still thought it regardless. Even if he went on to never win a championship, I would still think he's a top 10 center. And it's because of how skilled he is. And same thing with passing. People would say that John Stockton is a better passer than him. I was even hearing arguments that Rajon Rondo was a better passer than him, and they just weren't confident in saying Jokic was better because he didn't have a ring. Why do you have to win a championship to show why you're really good at one specific skill? That just doesn't make sense. And I understand that maybe you want that skill to translate in the playoffs, but again, we understand why Jokic hasn't been able to make it far in the playoffs. It's because his teams haven't been so good because of injury. This is not a scripted video, so I'm kind of all over the place, but shout out to Jokic because I think he proved so many people wrong. People are trying to change their tune on him, especially Kendrick Perkins. I will never forgive Kendrick Perkins for that rant that he went on probably quarter or halfway through the season. It completely changed almost everyone's view on Jokic, and now he's trying to change his mind and he's trying to change his tone that he had before. I'm not going to forget that. You do not truly believe in Jokic, and even if you say it now, I just can't believe you. I can't take you seriously. It's why I don't watch ESPN and FS1 to begin with. Most of these reactions that I give to ESPN is just stuff I see on Twitter, and I just feel like I need to say something about it. But I'm not going out of my way to watch these guys because these guys are clowns. That's why I had to put those intro clips in the beginning, because this is just the stuff that I had to hear. And even some of those clips, those came after they won. And I think that's maybe the last thing I want to talk about. Even though people are changing their tone on Jokic after winning, there are still people like Karl Anthony Towns trying to say that it was more impressive that the Timberwolves of 2 seasons ago, when they made the play-in tournament and Patrick Beverley is up on the stanchions throwing his jersey, he thought them doing that was more impressive than the Nuggets winning a championship. Like, that is insane to me. And then Stephen A saying that Jokic isn't known for a post game. Like, that's literally majority of his game is in the post, and he's able to play, make, and score out of the post. That just doesn't make sense. We're still at the point where, hey, people are giving him more credit, but people still don't watch him. There's no way and Stephen A is a very busy guy. He gets paid a bunch of money to watch multiple sports, and he has to be able to give opinions on everything. I know for a fact that he is not watching every single Nuggets game, every single 76ers game, every single Celtics game. I know he's not doing that, right? He has a lot of things to do. He's traveling. I get that. But to say that, you know, Jokic doesn't have a post game, like, just watch the playoffs. I'm hoping you watch the playoffs. That's like one of the biggest things of Jokic is being able to score in the post and the low post and in the paint, and he's just so efficient. Like, this just doesn't make sense. That's how I know he doesn't know anything about ball. He just doesn't know ball. And because people are still not fully convinced on Jokic, I think we still need to wait a little bit more for people to fully understand just how great Jokic is. This same thing happened with Giannis after he won in 2021. A lot of people's opinions changed on him because he won, again, leading back to the winning bias. However, you still had people like Marcellus Wiley, who was saying he couldn't be the face of the NBA because Chris Paul had more Instagram followers than him. That was ridiculous, and it still took about a quarter to half of the next season in 2022, when Giannis improved, for people to fully just commit to, okay, you know what? Giannis is the best player in the league. There's just no doubt about it. And it took more time. So even though Jokic won the championship, we still have to wait for people to catch up, like me, like the people watching this video. I think most of you guys are pretty smart and you guys know how good Jokic is, but the national media, they need some more time. They're a little bit slow. They're a little bit behind on stuff that they just weren't covering enough. And now we're at the point where he won a championship, and even the general public, I think, just isn't aware of how good Jokic is. And I think we're still going to have to wait into next season to do that. So we'll just have to see what happens. I know I'm definitely going to be covering more basketball for next season. You guys have been seeing my off-season videos, but those are just my thoughts on, you know, the Nuggets winning. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for, you know, supporting my channel for this first basketball season that I've been covering on YouTube. It's definitely been an interesting experience, and I really couldn't have done it without you guys. You guys brought me so much motivation to keep making videos, and I'm going to do it for this next season. Again, you guys have been seeing my off-season videos. I'm also working kind of full-time as well, so maybe the uploading schedule isn't going to be too great, but as soon as the summer ends, I'll have a little bit more flexibility within my schedule, so you guys will probably see some more videos from me. So again, thank you guys for, you know, supporting me through this first season of basketball. And yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and sub. Trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so it'd mean a lot. Check out my socials down below in the description. You can also check out this video somewhere on the screen, where I talk about why Colin Cowherd doesn't know ball. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.